Hey everyone, this is discussion number 5, question number 10. So deja vu, and this is the question that we did not go over in discussion. So what deja vu is, it's going to take in a tree of numbers t and a number n, and it's going to return true if there's a path from the root to the leaf, such that the sum of the numbers along that path is n, and false otherwise. And so I'm going to give an example. So let's say our tree is, this thing right here. And we're given the example that, let's say n is 10. So if we call deja vu on this tree and n is 10, what we want to check is if there is a path that sums up to 10. And 231 sums up to 6, 235 sums up to 10, and 24 sums up to 6. 235 sums up to 10, so we want to return true. And if you imagine, if we didn't have this path, then it will sum to false because, it doesn't exist. There's only like two paths with that sum up to 6. And so now let's take a look at the starter code to get a sense of what we want to do. So we have a is leaf statement, and then we're going to return something. And so that's like our base case, and we can go back to that in a little bit. And then we have this for loop right here, and that kind of gives us the hint that we're probably going to do for b in branches of t, because as we remember, the way we go about tree problems is we're probably going to do something with the root node, and then we're going to go down to each of the branches and make our true recursive calls. And then we're checking this condition, and if that's satisfied, we're going to return something, and then at the end we're going to return false. And returning false means that we didn't find that path. So that means that this for loop is going to check, does that path exist? And now let's go into the base case, so is leaf. So what if I gave you, a tree that was, 14 and, and wanted to sum up to 10. So what would happen here is the only path is 14 because, there are no branches here. And since it doesn't sum up to 10, we're going to return false. But if it was something like 10 and 10, then, they're equal to each other, so we want to return true. So this tells us that the return statement should be label of t is equal to n, equal to n. And so now we have the base case down, and let's think about how to do our recursive calls. So one thing to note about this tree is that when we're checking the paths, every single path contains this root node. So it's going to be 231, 235, and 24. Well, if every path contains the root node, then what does that tell us about the branches? If we had to have n equals 10. For any path to sum up to n equals 10, then the branch has to have a path that sums up to n minus that root node. So we have to, in this case, we have to find the path that sums up to 10 minus 2. And we check, does this path sum up to 10 minus 2? No, it sums up to 4. So let's go to the next one. And 3 plus 5 is 8. And we check, that sums up to 8. So we're going to return true, because if we add this path with the 2 that we have already, then it's going to sum up to 10. And so now let's use this idea to go into our problem. So as I said before, you probably want to do some for b in branches of t. So let's do that. And then we need to check some condition. And remember that our condition was going to be if we wanted to check if the branches had a sum that was equal to n minus the label. So that means our recursive call is going to be deja vu of b and n minus label of t. And remember that if we found a path that sums up to that remainder, then we can always add it with the 2 to get to n. And so if we found a path that exists that sums up to n minus label of t, we want to return true. And so what happens here, going over this, is that the for loop is going to go through every single branch and say, hey, do you have a path that sums up to whatever I want? And If it does, then we can create a path that sums up to n, and we're going to return true. But if we get through all of this, that means there wasn't a path that summed up to n minus label of t, and that means we can't create a path that goes to the root node that sums up to n. And so that means we're going to return false here. And yeah, that's question number 10. And let me know if you have any questions. My email is patwing123@berkeley.edu. And yeah, see you on Tuesday.